Welcome to AT Engineering's educational webinar. Thank you guys for joining. Today's topic is NX human modeling, the future of ergonomics and human-centric design. My name is Mason Wu. I will be your host for today. I'm based in the San Diego office. I'm very happy to be joined by Michael Senadiak from Siemens, who is a subject matter expert of NX software. So he will be the one presenting the topic today. Before we dive into the webinar, there are just some housekeeping notes. All attendees will be muted throughout the webinar. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat and we'll have Mike answer them at the end of the presentation. You will also be able to ask directly if you like, and we'll unmute you at the end. Please let us know. This webinar will be recorded and will be available on our website and our YouTube channel. Before I hand this to Mike, I just want to give a quick overview of AT Engineering, who we are, and how we might be able to support your team. So most people recognize ATA as an engineering service company. Our core founders have been together for almost 40 years, and we have vast experience providing high-value engineering services focused on test and analysis-driven design. Majority of our businesses are in aerospace and defense industry. That probably includes 70% of our business, but we also have work on other industry, as you can see here. About who we are, ATA is an employee-owned small business with a full-time staff just over 200 people. Most of them have advanced engineering degree, as you can see on the right. We have 7 total regional offices across the US, and as I've mentioned before, we have years of experience focusing on design, analysis, and test. This includes everything from structure design, structural dynamics, thermal analysis, fluid dynamics, and more. Test-wise, we are also the leading independent modal test group in the US. We have a lot of experience flying our team to the testing article location and conduct ground vibration testing and use that information to help drive the model design. Aside from our engineering service business, this is how most of you joining the webinar today know about AT Engineering. We are a Siemens VAR value-added reseller who not only sells the product, but also provides software support and training to our customer. We really focus on products and solutions that help design, analysis, and test. For example, NX, which is the topic for today, is mainly used for design. PMAP, Star CCM, SimCenter 3D for simulation. And for test, we are the sole Siemens partner in the US providing Siemens testing hardware and software. Because we sell what we use, our customer appreciate our familiarity of those tools and really shows in our hotline support. Every time they call, they're speaking with engineers who use the software every day and understand the problem. In addition, we teach a lot of classes, primarily dealing with simulation, and we actually generate the Siemens training materials for Nastran software. So a lot of times, if you go on the Siemens website finding a Nastran class, we will be the one teaching it. Last slide before I hand it to Mike. I want to encourage people to visit our ATA website. There is a lot of information inside, including hotline support, past webinars, PMAP APIs, white papers. Those are all free to download. So check it out. All right, with that being said, I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, Mike Senadiak. He is a partner solution consultant and team leader at Siemens. He's an expert in NX. So take it away, Mike.
Great, thank you, Mason. Great. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As Mason said, my name is Mike Senadiak and I'm with Siemens. So I'll be covering human modeling today and specifically within the NX product line. So what we've got set out for you is, kick off a little bit with some challenges and trends that we see happening in, human modeling, ergonomics, and we'll talk a little bit about the elements of our Siemens portfolio around the human modeling. And then we'll take you through some examples of what the tool does, how it can help you and improve your business process. And then we'll close out how to help you get started. So if you're interested in moving forward, what would the license be? What is some of the training and tutorials and documentation around that? And we'll definitely take questions at the end. But if you have some questions while we're going, you can add those to the chat or the Q&A panel in the Zoom meeting. So let's get started. So from a challenge and trends side, what we're seeing and where we're making investments around is really what we're seeing with all the regulatory type of compliance that is going on out there. So a lot of it is human modeling to make sure that we can match the population that you're serving and developing your product for. Definitely the safety standards, right? So a lot of corporate and industry standards being put into place, as well as, regional and zone. And then finally, things around, customer satisfaction. And so all of the different items you see on the screen are, areas that we're taking into account when we go and add to our portfolio. And so some of the trends, I think this just backs up some of what we saw from a challenge, right? How do we solve those? The regionalization of having the different human models that match the populace that you're selling to. Things around the safety and standards compliance built into the tool to help you with that. Definitely around product design, more so that it is ease of use, comfort, all of those things as you work. And then things that we're seeing with, input devices, display devices. You see many companies continuing to bring out new technology for the vision, as well as, the motion capture type tools. So with that, the Siemens portfolio has taken both of those things into account and helping to drive, our product. So here, ease of use, definitely. And I think we'll showcase that today through the demonstrations, giving you that database of a global population that you can put right into your designs. And then, being that safety and compliance analysis, being able to check and make sure that we're not, injuring the occupant, we're not giving them a bad experience, right? And ultimately, as today's is focused on, inside the NX tool. And so we do have three elements to this, right? So human simulation, you can do that inside the NX environment. We also can do those inside of Process Simulate Human. And then just for some of the visualization in that inside the Teamcenter Viz product, the Viz mockup, you could use the visualization jack tool inside of there. So, NX Human is a subset, and then Process Simulate takes more some of the motion captures, some of the industrial engineering type tasks of timing and different movements and things like that. But you'll see with the NX Human, the power of, putting the occupant into your design, seeing how the packaging and things like that with your person. So NX Human is what we want to talk about. So if you take a look at what area it focuses in, is the database. So obviously all the tools have the database, the human scaling control, right? So within the normal range of motion and that of the human, for each of those, we have the parameters that help drive that, so that you're not over accentuating something that wouldn't actually happen in reality. The posture prediction, right? So this is more focused, industry focused around automotive, and then that comfort assessment. So we'll start to talk and show you guys a little bit about each of those as we walk through. But as you can see, if for some reason you had a need across some of the other capabilities, if you're looking for, force and body position and that type of thing, more in-depth performance tools, those would actually take you to the next product. So that's a little bit to start. So let's look at specifically what is in, the NX Human modeling and posture prediction. What are those tools? So initially is being able to create the human. So in there, what you'll see is that we have the database. And so those are the different types. You can see some of them on the screen. So the menu, when you go to select from the pull down, is it a male? Is it female that you're putting into your design? And then really it gives you all of that capability. You'll see the ability to articulate, move that person around to set the particular, scene that they're working in. And so it really helps. It also has, we'll show you some things with not only the articulated spine, hands, arms, but even the vision side of this, right? So if you want to understand, how the person is looking, where they're looking, what they can see, we also have tools there. And so it really is, that realism, putting it into your model. So instead of waiting until you prototype and put it into a real person's hands or into the real, environment, we can do this all virtually, and thus capturing more of that digital twin, for you. So also we talked a little bit about the posturing, right? So once you place a human into your design, you can go ahead and use basically a library. We have a lot of poses that are out of the box. And so you're able to grab those and use those particular poses. Once you have those poses set, you can also go in and make changes to that as well. So it allows you to capture something maybe custom for yourself and also save those off. So if you wanted to reuse those, you can actually bring those back into another design, or place them, into the existing design multiple times. So just some ways to do that. So why don't we take a look, initially at that and how that operates. So inside of the NX environment, the industry ribbon bar is where you'll access this from. And so first thing is, go in and select the human that you want. And so you can see all of the different databases that we can pull from. These are, again, industry standards that you can work from. And so picking the gender, picking, stature and weight, what is the percentile, right? So even when you, maybe your kids, right? Were they in the 90th percentile? Were they in the 50th? Were they behind? But we have all of those so that you can check those ranges when you're designing your product or a work cell. How does that impact those different users that you might be selling to? And so it's easy. You can put them in. They become part of the part navigators. So you can always go back and edit them if you need to change the human that you selected. But you'll also notice is the posture, being able to set those. And so there's a system library that you can pull from. So pick those from the list and it automatically updates the human that you're working in. So again, if you find one that you want to, and then we go in and make some changes, you also can go ahead, as you can see in the dialog, save those off for reuse. So very easy to get started, right? So that you don't have to start from scratch in order to manipulate the human form. You can start with these base poses and really get that posture going for whatever you're doing, whether it's an automobile, whether it's an aircraft, whether it's a work cell in the plant. You're able to place these people and have, something that is realistic to start from. So that's a little bit about, using those and placing those into your design. And again, it is a feature inside. So whenever you want to make changes, you can go ahead and work off of that. So as we mentioned also then, the other area is eye views, right? So when you have in place one of the humans into your design, what you can do is turn on this and you will actually see in a left and right view. It actually puts up another view panel for you and you'll be able to see this in the demo. But the nice thing is then as I articulate the human, I turn the head, move it up and down, move the eyes, you'll actually see then all the surroundings. So you can imagine it's good for the vehicle design, but also on the bottom example, right, where I might be in a plant setting. What am I getting blocked out by? What can I see from this? And so it's just that ability to, again, virtually check this out before you ever place it into prototype or out into the plant. Also, the reach zones, right, is important. So again, you see kind of a combination here, theme, a lot of automotive, a lot of industrial. So as you have that person put in, we can check both right and left arm How do they reach out? How far can they? And it actually creates geometry for you that then, as you're setting up the vehicle or the workstation, you can see, hey, maybe we need to move this in. We need to move that, hand drill in. We need to move these things to make it better and easier for the person to do their work. And so really gives you the power of checking out ahead of time, making sure we know what's going to happen there. Again, before making costly changes after the fact. So let's take a look at reach zones. We'll show you the eye views a little bit later. It's tied to a different demo, but let's take a look at this one. So in here then, once the person's in place, all you have to do is select them, and then you can control which. Is it my right hand? Is it my left hand? And it basically builds that geometry for you so that you can see through it. And it's not only just a one-time thing. As we check and make modifications to that person's position, this geometry moves with them. So as we lean forward or we move our arms and such, you'll see, oh, yep, that's within their reach, or no, you guys, maybe we need to make some changes to that, right? So I can't reach that emergency lever or switch, or yes, everything's within their use case. And again, a lot of times with this, what's important is both, how does it operate for a male or versus a female in that particular position? Again, based on size, could really make a big impact. So this is a quick way to check that. Very easy to get going with that. So another area then that we talked about, some of the trends and challenges, right, is just, comfort assessment. And so being able to check this, we have the 5 industry standard comfort databases built in. And so from that, we can check our human that we've placed into the environment. And you'll see this dialog that pops up and gives us all those key parameters. Where are we at? Are we within the ranges? So obviously green is good, red is bad. It allows them to check that and find out, hey, maybe we need to make some, again, adjustments so that we would keep those people within a comfortable range for that. And so it's really important, for having a good product, having, especially in the industrial side, having a good arrangement of your working area so that you're not creating problems, injuries, those types of things. So we'll take a quick peek at that one as well. So within this, then, as you're working, the comfort analysis is on the ribbon bar, so it's very simple for you to access. It allows you to go in then and pick your comfort study, which would you like to work off of, and once you have that, it goes and does all the work for us. And all we need to see is, what is that assessment? And so in this case, we were looking at the lady on her side, based upon where her foot is. We see there's a couple parameters that are out of comfort, right? So maybe it's pushing her ankle back too far or too far out. And so same thing here, right? We can go back and either change how she's positioned, or maybe we have to make a design change to the vehicle, right? And so you get that real-time feedback as we adjust, in this case, her ankle. You can see right in the graphics, yep, that helped, that brought her within the range of, acceptable limits there. And so it's that simple, that quick for you to get those checks in here. Okay. So another one is sometimes we don't need the full human form in order to do this. Sometimes we just need the hand forearm type to check certain areas. So that could be everything from how do we grip something, how do we have reach into a particular area. So a couple ones here, right? The grip on the handsaw, or in this case, the motorcycle, both the gripping, and then can we get into areas of it. So things like that. It does both a hand without a glove or with a glove. So again, if you're in an industrial setting, do you have gloves on to protect your hands? And it'll take into account that thickness so that it helps you with that. And so just like we could pose the human, the full human, we can do that with the hands. We have different postures already set up. So again, instead of having to take all that time to define, every joint and set that up, we have those out of the box that you can pick from those, and it will quickly, get that person's hand and forearm into the right position for you to check. So let's take a quick peek at how that looks. So again, here, rather than starting with the human, we're starting with human hands, right? And so with that, it's based on, it uses the, location like of your work coordinate system. So you can put multiples of these into a file, just like you could put multiple humans in. And so you can see there, right? What's the style? Do we want it because they're working, in an industrial side that they need the gloves? And then the database are similar to like what we have on the full person. And so also, what percentile is it? If you want to check for the extremes, the high end and the low end, that's very easy for you to do. So here's just some examples, right? With gloves, without, just the hand and forearm. Those are the types that you can create from there. And so once you have it in place, now we can make changes to that, right? So we can go ahead and edit that and show you some of the other poses that you can put in there. So definitely all the common type of ones, either grips, pointing, selecting, grabbing onto, those types of things. And you just walk through those, and it updates and applies those to the hand, or the hand and forearm. Okay. And then also, you still, just like the human, we could go in and adjust elements of it. So again, so that you don't, it keeps you within the limitation, so that you're not able to do something that really your body would not be able to do by itself. And so that's really how this operates. So again, some examples of how you could apply that. Nice one here is with the grip, being able to grip and check about that. Again, these are bodies that you could use, so you can actually use that to perform a clearance analysis. You can check, with those bodies as well. So just a little bit different one here, that, being able to go in and create, again, both the hand and the forearm and stuff. So those are the types of things that you can do with this. Okay. So again, very easy to get started. Not tons of training required. I mean, it's pretty discoverable, and allows you to go in and to do that. So another area that we extend this to is the posture prediction. And so it is a separately licensed piece. We'll talk about licensing later, but the reason this is more industry specific for automotive. And so with that, you can go into use in combination to some of our other automotive industry tools. So things like our vehicle design automation, you can bring that in and use that as a starting point. Then we can bring in the humans, and it will actually use these standard models for Class A and B vehicles, and it will actually do all the positioning correctly for you. So instead of us having to pick, well, they're seated, but then I have to articulate hands and arms in the right spot, it uses the information from our vehicle design automation tool to help place them appropriately into the vehicle. So this one will cover a little bit with the posture prediction, but it also go back a little bit earlier and show you with the eye views. So as I'm able to see and move that person's head around, can they see the instrumentation panel? Can they see within their work cell? How do they do that? So, it looks like the similar example, but one of the things that we'll start with is the vehicle design automation is a separate module. But what this has is a lot of those packaging type tools into it, specifically for, automotive, heavy equipment, all of those types of vehicles. you can actually use that as your starting point. And so you'll see some of that data. What it's using is those data points to help us as we place that human into the design. So there are tools inside VDA that do the 2D mannequin. You can see some of the things for their vision, how they can see in that, just even in the 2D. But now we're going to take our human and we're going to position him accordingly with this design. And so what you see on the screen right now, that's what we call the base data. So having that is very helpful then to drive this posture prediction. So once you have that laid out, then we can go to the human, go ahead and add that in, and then you'll see there on the ribbon bar, there is a separate function then that will help us predict that posture and place it in appropriately. So again, operate just like you do in any other case. You're going to place that person into the scene, and then we'll use the additional tool there. So again, very powerful because it doesn't take a lot of extra work. You're using the industry standards for automotive, and that's helping to drive this. So we'll place a couple people into the design, and then we'll see how that works out. So again, it's using that base data from the vehicle design automation tool. And, again, all of that is focused around automotive packaging. And so then here, once we have the predict posture, if you had already developed the vehicle data, you can just read that in. That's what we're doing. We use the existing information there. If you didn't have it, you could actually define some of that here to help you, but it just depends on where you want to generate that information. And it's that simple. We have the posture prediction. We pick the human based on all those data points. It places them exactly in the right place. Their feet, their hand holding for the steering wheel, back placement, everything there. And so again, with the shape and size difference of everyone, male versus female, you got to make sure, can we reach? Can we fit? How does all of that work for us? And so, you can have those different models superimposed so that we can check that out and make sure that we're good to go there. And so another thing that was kind of interesting is you can turn the human off and see, the spine and how all the points of articulation in red, right? So you can see how that impacts, one person versus the other there. So that's kind of a cool view of where and how detailed we can control the human that's in there. And so same thing, once you've created it, if you need to move it, in this case, we'll put, the driver on one side, the passenger on the other side. It's literally that easy. You just select where the occupant is within the vehicle, and it'll update accordingly. So that's a little bit with, using the posture prediction. Again, it is a very specific piece for automotive. So this then will move into the eye views. And so this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier, was the fact that you can then turn this on. You see the view panels for left and right eye. And literally, as I'm moving that person around, you're seeing that update, on those left-hand panels there. And so, is it an obstructed view? Can we see everything there on the, in this case, the instrument cluster? How does that look? How's that working out for us? So, simple setup. There's really just selecting it and telling it, yep, I want to look at the eye views. There's a lot of buttons to push. There's not a lot of detail. It's just place them in there. And then as I want to edit my human and make movements, you'll get all of that detail right from there. So again, I think as you'll see, a lot of this is really easy. It's very straightforward in how to get up and running with it and start using it. So with that, some of the main things are really, just giving you some other ideas of NX Human in action, right? So obviously the demos I did today were more focused around automotive, but don't get that that's the only way you can use this. It really is great for, as you can see, some of the different things where you might be setting up work cells or a plant, other types of maintenance, repair, overhaul type situations. It could be in aerospace and defense, right? As you're going in and working on those. Again, areas where we can use just the articulated hand and forearm, checking different areas around the product. So just some other things to give you some ideas about where this might really come into play. So pretty short, sweet, to the point, but if you look at really the benefits is having that human factors ability inside your design environment. We didn't have to output data, we didn't have to export it, send it to another system. We were able to do that right within NX, quickly check again both our human, our hands, vision, are we within comfort levels, all of that. And so you could do that usability, right, of what you're designing, what you're working with, right out of the gate. The nice thing is, the data libraries that we have for human, we cover a wide range of target populations. So whether you were in China or Korea or India, the US, all of that is covered with that. So very, very high fidelity on those models. And then, as you saw, some of the things with where we were reaching and such, really helpful when you start to go through that. So accessibility, occupant positioning, all those things that, and many times if you're not doing something like this, that's coming late in the cycle, and ultimately you're missing or having to do rework or just saying, well, it's too late for us to change it. And so this gives you that ability to find out earlier, right? We can find out those design issues up front, early in the cycle, make sure that we make changes before we ever start producing the real product. So with that, what does it take to get started? So as you look at it from a licensing standpoint, primarily all the things that we did today, except for the posture prediction, those were all done with the NX Human modeling. So we have that as an add-on to your bundle. You could add that on to any of the mock bundles, or a one that's very powerful is that if you had the Mach 1 floating bundle or higher, you can make use of the token pool. So in this case, the tokens required are 26, and so that works just like an add-on module, but the token pool means now I can do other things. I could use this, I could use the vehicle design automation or general packaging tool, I could use the posture prediction, all with the tokens, right? So different token amounts. And as you see on the right side, the human modeling, the posture prediction, it also could be an add-on module if you need it and you're focused. If you're using it on and off, you can see that the tokens make that much easier to get in and work with that. So mock bundle is required for the add-on, but some of my recommendations obviously is without the NX Human, how are you going to do the posture prediction? And also without the vehicle design automation, or what you'll hear is general packaging module, those are critical for helping then to place that person into those vehicles. So those are a couple options for using the functionality and the tools that we showcased today. So also, from a training enablement type situation, you really can go right to our documentation. So if you go into the NX docs, there are details on all of the elements that I touched on today. And what's nice is right in the documentation, you have the tutorials and some sample parts to work from. So that last one that we looked at on the screen that showed the work cell, the cage, and the woman working over the body panel part, those are actually in here. The hand, the forearm, and that particular example, you guys could try that out yourself. It's ready to go right inside here. So things like, all of the assessments, all those things that we were doing are available to you right there. And all you have to do is go right into the documentation. those are available to you, with your NX license. So with that, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. A little bit shorter than some of the others, but wanted to make sure you had a good idea and understanding of where does NX Human fit and what is the capabilities in that. So with that, Mason, I'll open it up to, were there any questions that came in on the chat, or does anybody have questions now that they would like to talk about?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. If there's any questions, you can type into the chat, or we can unmute you and you can ask directly. Let us know. I think overall, Mike, you did a good job on the presentation itself. I just have a quick question from my end,
Sure.
which is, so the human modeling is essentially creating a human model in the NX design space. Is it, like, does the human model, is there a constraint we can do, like, connected to the CAD model, or is it kind of separate and just create a reference frame for that?
So it's actually a feature within your model. So you can have that, as I was working in a particular design, it could be in the component. I also can have it within the assembly that I'm working in. So it is just the geometry is a faceted geometry, but it's actually a feature, within your part or assembly.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. Because people would ask, well, should I put it in a model or that? You don't have to create it in a separate component. It can just be within, it resides within, again, the component that you're working on or the assembly. And then you can put, again, multiple of those. And you saw those were in the feature list.
Gotcha. And like more questions, since I don't see any question from other people, I'm gonna keep asking. So
Sure.
coming from a simulation standpoint, so you talk about like the NX human modeling being used as a standard for automotive industry. So is there any feature correlated with this NX human modeling with the, say, let's say like they are doing the impact test of a race car or like a car that they designed? Can NX do that? And can, like, I know NX connects the SimCenter 3D solver or like Nastran solver. Can NX do that type of analysis?
So I'm not aware that we do that specifically using the NX human geometry. I don't think that there's anything there that you would take that and put that then into SimCenter 3D to run a crash simulation or a test dummy that would actually be hitting into into the dash or whatever, getting hit with something in the factory, right? It does not have that capability that I'm aware of to do that with the NX Human.
Got it.
Hey, Mason, this is Adam, another panelist. Can I ask Michael a question?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Michael, I sell a lot of Star CCM Plus, and a lot of clients are in the cycling industry, and they're always keen to model a transient model of a cyclist.
Okay.
And getting that mannequin to move is always hard. Can the human modeling in NX be a way to do that somehow?
So when you say moving as in the kinematic motion of their legs pedaling and their yes, arms exactly. Moving or directing that. So it does not, it's a static, in the NX Human, it's static, right? We're just putting those different poses into that, right? You could have multiple poses that maybe you could use with Star or with that, but the physical, moving their legs and seeing how that all articulated like that, we can't do that with human.
All right, not yet.
Not yet. Now, the thing with Process Simulate, is if I was on the shop floor with that person on the Process Simulate Human, I could tell them, okay, I'm standing at this workstation, I'm going to reach and grab this bolt. Maybe I'm going to walk over and pick up the wrench, the impact wrench, or I'm picking up something else that I have to assemble, we can see that, right? So we're figuring the movement of that person in process simulate, because that's where you do get some kinematic, but even there, I'm not sure that I would apply that to the bicycling example, but you do get motion and movement in process simulate.
All right. It might be that, creating just the mannequin positions, maybe if you did one every, 10 degrees, 36 mannequin positions would enable you to do the transient install.
Sure. Yeah, right. So now you're taking those snapshots that then you're applying to your simulation. That could be. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure. Good question. Any others from anyone online?
I think my favorite feature that you talked about is the eye view feature, that you can see directly from the human model.
Yes.
That's really good. That I see, it's really helpful. And just lastly, can you share a quick success story that whoever uses the next human model, whatever they have done that shows successful of the tool?
Well, yeah, I mean, really, as you can see, a lot of the examples in that we talk about are really around all of our automotive OEMs, right? So you can talk about any of those that have used these types of tools to help them with that. So again, in combination with the vehicle design automation for packaging, and meaning human packaging within the vehicle, and then taking that, putting human in, do the posture prediction and such. So I would say any of our automotive customers, they would be referenceable like that they have used that. I'm not as familiar with our aerospace and defense side, so I don't know which ones that might be ones that that we could say like that, but definitely on the automotive side, very strong usage across the tools.
Yeah, I can definitely see aerospace industry use this as well. Maybe modeling humans in a rocket.
Right, it could be, right, not just airplanes, but yeah, definitely within the rockets. Think about the work that's being done on the capsules, the landers, and things like that, right? Can they reach that big touch screen when they're strapped into the seat, right?
Exactly.
Putting their arms out, in that way you could size to the people that you're actually going to go on that particular rocket ship or the plane and stuff like that. Think about pilots in the cockpit, right? So you have all of those dials, gauges, switches, and things like that. What is their reach zone, right? What is their ability to see, right? As you have those. So definitely those are good examples of use cases that we could really apply this to. And again, the industrial side too, think about that. So if you're doing some of the plant layout and things like that, line designs, things like that, we've shown that using NX Line Designer in combination with NX Human. So now I can see, right? Can I reach all the elements within my work cell? Do I have enough, clearance to do all the things I'm trying to do? And so those are definitely some key ones that, again, tried to showcase in our presentation today.
Yeah. Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
we can wrap this up, Mike.
Okay. Well, excellent. Well, I appreciate everyone's time. And, if you have questions, obviously reach out to Mason and ATA, and we'll be happy to help you out.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike, for your time. This is great.
Yep. Glad to do it.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day now.
You too.